Hello there, and welcome back to Migraine Relief Hotline. I'm Kelli, the migraine dietitian, and each week I'm answering your biggest questions about migraine so you can feel more confident and in control. Now, before we jump into today's question, which is about how to deal with scents and strong smells being a trigger for migraine, I wanted to let you know about a special challenge that just opened up for enrollment. It's going to be starting May 5th, and it's called the 5-Day Migraine Resilience Blueprint Challenge. And I am super excited for y'all to do this with us. It's going to be hosted inside my Raise Your Threshold program, so you'll actually get like a sneak peek into the program while you're doing the challenge with us. It's going to be so fun. I'm calling it the antidote to like restriction and overloading yourself and feeling like you're not doing enough. So it's going to be a perfect way to kind of reestablish your baseline without overdoing it and without completely wearing yourself down. So, if you want to join us for that challenge, it's only $27. It's super inexpensive. If you do decide that you want to stay in Raise Your Threshold afterwards, which you absolutely don't have to, I'm also going to give you a little discount. Don't tell anybody, but you'll get a discount each month if you do want to stay. And I'll put the link to enroll in that challenge in the description of the show today. Enrollment is going to be open from today. It's April 25th. It's going to be open through the start of the challenge, which is May 5th. Okay. So if you have any questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram, shoot me an email, and I'm happy to answer those for you. All right. So let's get into today's question. Now, quick note before we get started, I'm a dietitian, but I am not your dietitian. The information in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. Okay, so today's question comes from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for submitting a question, which you can do in the details of the call today. They asked, do you have any questions for how to deal with strong smells like perfume or cologne in confined spaces like airplanes when it's a trigger for migraine? Oh gosh, this is such a good question. So many of you I know are going to relate to this because it comes up all the time, especially for people with like extra sensory sensitivity, a super overreactive nervous system, which most of us with migraine have at one point or another. Even, vestibular migraine and issues like that can come with. So this is a really common trigger for migraine. Let's get into it. Now, why are strong smells such a trigger? I think it'd be interesting to get into this a little bit before I actually answer your question so you can have some context, right? Now, strong scents, especially synthetic ones, so perfume, cologne, air fresheners, certain candles, but also natural smells too. These can activate the trigeminal nerve, which is the main pain pathway involved in migraine. That nerve is super sensitive in people with migraine, and it gets triggered by sensory input like smells, but also lights and sounds too, which for a lot of us, those are also triggers. So it kind of makes sense, right? If your nervous system is already like overloaded, then being trapped in a scent-filled place like an airplane can just push you over your threshold, push you over the edge into a migraine attack. And airplanes, oh my God. And airplanes really are like the perfect storm for smell sensitivity because we've got that pressurized air, we've got a dry environment, you're probably dealing with some sort of disrupted sleep if you're flying on a plane. The cabin can smell like, either cleaning chemicals or nearby passengers, perfume. So there's a lot happening. And there's also other triggers present too, right? Like, loud kids, no offense, crying babies, no offense, people watching their iPads or listening to music, talking, the lights, it's a nightmare, right? So it makes sense that it would be a challenging environment for you. So I want to talk a little bit about what you can do during to deal with this, but also what you can start thinking about beforehand. So whether you're going to be traveling on a plane or you're going over to someone's house who loves air fresheners, like whatever the situation is, these are things that you can start doing ahead of time to help get ahead of it, okay? So these tips won't necessarily make you like bulletproof when it comes to scents, but it can help you both build up your tolerance a little bit and then reduce your exposure. So that's the goal. Now, beforehand, do some nervous system prep, okay? Because your nervous system is what's reacting, right? So we want to calm, we want to promote feelings of safety within the nervous system. So breath work, gentle movement, making sure to get plenty of sleep. Those are good things to focus on like a day or two before, and really every day, but especially a day or two before you're expecting to be exposed to some sort of scent, right? If you know ahead of time. Hydrate, minerals, electrolytes. These are also going to be helpful. So pulling from an electrolyte drink, you can either use a pre-made powder or make your own. A really simple recipe is coconut water and salt. And then you can add, flavors to it like lemon or another fruit juice if you want to. Super simple electrolyte drink recipe. And drinking this beforehand, again, like starting ideally every day. You want to be having electrolytes, but especially starting the day before and the day of, having some electrolytes can support your nervous system as well as hydration and other, important areas. And then magnesium can help. So we know that magnesium is great for migraine, but it also supports nervous system regulation, and it can kind of dampen your sensitivity to things in a good way. So if magnesium is already in your toolkit, make sure you're utilizing that for this too. Now, during your exposure to the scents or whatever issue you're having, you can try a few different things. So one is a barrier method, right? So putting something between you and the smell. So this could be, a scarf. You could use a scarf, even sprayed with a smell that you know that you tolerate. You could put some essential oils on it. You can leave you can put no scent at all on it, but it can act as a physical barrier for you. It's also acceptable to wear masks, right? So wearing a mask on a flight or wherever you're going, you can do that too. Again, you can spray these items with something that has a smell to it, or you can just leave it scentless, but just having that barrier can be really helpful. There are also, they have different names. I'll try to find a link and put it in the show notes for you. But they have little nose plugs that they're like hollow. They don't stop you from breathing, but they're scented. Most of them are like menthol scented, and they're clear. So you can pop those in your nose. It's going to look like you have a clear, like septum piercing almost, but it's barely noticeable. These are great for blocking scents as well if you tolerate menthol, okay? Because that's going to cancel out everything. I've tried them out for myself. My, nose holes were too small for them. But I'm sure they make different sizes, different brands that might work better. I just haven't tried them yet. So those are also a good option. And even aside from that, using some sort of scent to mask other smells is a great idea. So again, if you do tolerate menthol, then some sort of like a lot of the headache blends for essential oils, like the rollers, just roll it under your nose or even just smell it from the bottle. Those can be really beneficial. If you're not into those strong smells, then rubbing something like a shea butter or some sort of lotion or moisturizer, or even like chapstick, right, that you tolerate the smell of, you can rub it under your nose, and that can mask things as well. Other things that may not seem directly related that can be helpful are noise canceling headphones or earplugs and like sunglasses or migraine glasses. No, this isn't going to help with smell, but it's going to help reduce sensory input overall. And that's going to help with your nervous system overload overall, right? So again, it's not going to be a magic fix for the smell, but it's going to help your system tolerate it better because there's less input, okay? And then, yeah, you want to make sure you have your rescue meds, your, other tools that you would use if you do start to get an attack. Always have those with you, especially if you know that you're going to be exposed to a potential trigger like perfume, okay? So if you have a medication that works quickly for you, keep that on hand. If you have other tools like, ginger chews, if you have other tools like ginger chews or, those pressure point bands, an eye mask even, like whatever you can use to help you feel better that's in your migraine kit, have that with you and use them, okay? Don't try to push through. Use your tools. So with triggers like this, I know they can be so frustrating because we can't really control what other people are doing. And we actually talked about this on one of our Am I the A-hole episodes. I don't know if it's come out yet, but where someone was stuck on a flight and they were trying to figure out if they were an a-hole for trying to get someone to, what was it? They were about to use Tiger Balm. And for them, Tiger Balm, that's like a camphor menthol-y kind of smell. That was actually a trigger for them, a migraine trigger. And it caused this whole big issue. But sometimes we can't control other people's actions. And honestly, most of the time, we can't control other people's actions. Just like we can't control the weather, right? So not all triggers are within our control. So that's why we need to focus on the things we can control, both triggers that we can control and what we can change within our own environment to help us deal with those triggers that we can't control. Now, another big part of this, of course, is working to improve your resilience and raise your overall threshold for migraine. Because if your threshold is higher, that point at which, you experience a migraine attack, if it's higher, then you're going to require a lot more trigger exposure to feel bad. So you're going to tolerate weird smells and strong perfumes much better when your threshold is higher. That's what we do in Raise Your Threshold. The challenge actually is a really good introduction to this, and it's not just for beginners. It's a really good way for you to kind of return to your baseline, especially if you're in a flare, you've just been feeling really off for a while. The challenge is going to help you with that too. So it's going to help you get started on raising your threshold or continue your journey if you're already working on that, right? So all that being said, I hope this was helpful for you. I know this was a short and sweet episode, and hopefully it's going to act as a nice reference for you in the future when you're like, oh my gosh, these smells are driving me crazy. You can come back to this episode, do a little refresh, and have some good tools. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a review, subscribe, follow, and share it with a friend who you think may find this helpful. If you have a question that you want me to answer on the podcast, or if you found a funny Reddit thread about migraine that you want me to respond to, you can find ways to submit those in the call notes linked below. And we also have a Patreon that you can join if you want to support the show. I also post bonus content on there, which I will be doing more as we get more members signed up. So make sure you check that out. Also linked in the show notes. And then I'm also going to put links for Raise Your Threshold as well as the 5-day challenge in the show notes as well. I would love for you to join us. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have live calls. We're going to have a chat area. So if you've been wanting support, this is a really good, easy way to get that. And it's only $27. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye.